you're growing all that food, you know how to can it, store it, preserve it, etc. with all these documents. So thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. I hope that you will pick up this package and start learning to be free. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, where information never sleeps and freedom is one seed that needs to be planted.
What we do in life, it goes in eternity.
Hi everybody, it's Christine Joanna Hart and it's Queen of Hearts show. I just want to introduce you to my audience. How do you pronounce your name actually?
My name is Sethikus Boza.
There you go. I'm not going to be able to say that. It's so an unusual name. Where did that name come from?
My name is Seth. It's kind of an add-on to my name, given to the fact that, you know, the identity that we have is really not our own, and it's more of a validity of who I am. And then my name Boza is it's Dutch, essentially. I'm Dutch Irish. So
Oh, excellent. And just to tell the audience, I stole you off Sarah Adams, who is another bases person. And I found you one of Sarah Adams's friends on my Facebook. And I think we've got Miles Johnston with us. I didn't know Miles was going to come on today, Seth, but he's gate crashed, haven't you, Miles?
Only that you arranged this yesterday and we all said about half an hour ago that we were going to be on, apart from that. But you know Sarah Adams, and we've got somebody else who's Dutch, Mirjam here.
Somebody else is Dutch. Is there another Dutch person on the radio? On the show?
Yes.
Hi.
Yes, Miles. How's it going? My name is Sethikus.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the idea is that this is expanded to a much wider degree in terms of, you know, psychic warrior soldiers and transdimensional stuff and the astral and things.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And Miriam's very good at
I know Max and Sarah personally. I've been in network with them for a while, and I've actually watched the Bases project and what you guys have going, and it's very good. So,
well, we had a very interesting little incident here beside between two military bases here, right in the middle of crop circle country, which is basically the Vale of Pusey. Somebody who I can't mention, but let's put it this way: they have got very high credentials. Their daughter was driving back from work, and this was at 7 o'clock at night, and there were two large spheres of orange energy of some kind hovering over a place called Netherhaven. This is along one of the River Avons. There's about 3 River Avons, but this is one of the ones which goes right down towards Amesbury, not too far from Stonehenge and past the 2 or 3 big military bases, Boscombe Down, Portendown, and another secret base called Old Sarum, which is also an ancient castle on the way to Salisbury. And on the way up towards what we would call the Adam's Grave and the famous massive field where so many crop circles have happened, at a place called Upavon, she ended up, these 2 huge big craft were sitting there at 8 minutes past 7, and she was driving underneath them because we had low cloud and these things were below the cloud, obviously, and her radio got completely wiped out, but she managed to stay on the phone and just drove under it. So and then one of these things took off and just flew away. But this is right beside 2 artillery and military bases right in the middle of the Vale of Pusey, and it's interesting that these things seem to be interacting with the military here.
Interesting.
Absolutely.
Interesting. Seth, so how did you come to this spiritual awakening, or have you always been awake?
Have I always been awake? Well, knowing what I know now, I know that I came in on assignment essentially to assist, you know, the time that we're in. And, you know, my awakening process was, it was very, very dark. It was a very long process actually. But it really started to kick in around the year 2000. I don't have a whole lot of time to get into my, the whole story, but that's when the stellar activation kicked in, was in the year 2000, and that's when everything really started kicking in for me. And I had an experience that lasted for about a year, but I was in direct interface with whatever term you want to use, the archons, the daemons, all this stuff. And it's very real, all these psyop projects, black ops, and and all the stuff that they're doing with the military. And yeah, it's very very real.
What do you mean by direct interface with the archons, demons, we can call them whatever?
Well, it's what I experienced, because you hear the term targeted individuals, and Sarah and many others have spoken about it, how if you have certain abilities and gifts that they want to hone in on that, and kind of try to rake you in to their side of the woods kind of thing. And I was both recruited by the OTO and the Knights of Malta in 2011. Of course, I refused, but I have direct bloodline lineage into all this. My grandfather was a 32nd degree Freemason in Blue Lodge Masonry. He was a member of the Order of the Mystic Shrine. It's on both sides of my family. So yeah, the Boza bloodline and the Misser bloodline, which is my mother, coming out of Ireland and whatnot. So yeah, it's in the DNA, and the whole game is genetics. They want to harvest our genetics and our soul code so that we don't awaken, and that's why they do all the things that they do. But when you start awakening, and once you start coming to a certain level, you are going to have interface with these sorts of things, because you are cleansing and purging your system, your mind, your thought, your emotions, your chakra system, all of that, and basically sealing off any inroad that they would have. And they just don't hand over what they have claimed, which has to do with DNA, which has to do with bloodlines and whatnot. But those are the things I really started having to face starting in the year 2000. And it was about a year of complete and total insanity, basically. And I came out of it, and when I did, people talk about higher self and making connection to higher self, and I can definitely say that's what happened. But after that, it was about 6 or 7 years. I actually got involved with ministry due to the programming that I was still dealing with growing up. Very religious upbringing. Yeah, so I went into ministry, and ironically, through my experience with all of that, I saw the seat of these dark Luciferians and what they're doing on some of the highest levels. So, yeah, I have direct experience with things that are going on.
Hang on then. So what are they doing on the highest level? What did you see? What are they up to?
Well, what it all comes down to is the astral barrier, and basically what's been set up to lock humanity down in a death rebirth cycle. People talk about reincarnation. Well, what is that? And that's basically the cycles of death and rebirth that we've been caught in over and over again, because they are keeping the secrets and sciences of resurrection and true ascension from us. And they don't want people to know these things. So, they come out with all the mind control and whatnot to keep us asleep.
And so you're saying that reincarnation isn't a natural thing, that God, I always thought that reincarnation was a natural thing that God thought of so we cleaned our souls. But you're saying that that's something they've put in place.
Yes, it is a trap, actually. And it's in order to harvest our genetics and energy over and over and over again, basically using humanity as batteries.
Oh, right. What do you think of that, Miles? I didn't know that. Did you? No. Miles?
Yeah, I muted myself so you didn't hear me slurping coffee.
Oh,
No, one of the central themes to the early investigation of bases was these program-generated life forms that were being manufactured in conjunction with the German technology from World War II. In other words, they were making fake aliens, and that is why the logo of the Basis project is a grey. It's got round eyes. It deliberately does not have almond eyes because the whole point is they're making controllable alien type beings with reptilians and other greys around, and they're used as a population control mechanism when they abduct people by the military. So it's the central theme is it's a fake alien abduction by fake aliens made by the military in conjunction with real aliens, which really are forms of demonic entities. So there's a real kind of
they're like surrogate bodies.
So it plugs in with that thing.
so Miles, I want you to comment on reincarnation. What Seth said about reincarnation being like a barrier, not being a thing that's thought of by God to purify our souls, like we all think, but it's a fake thing. It's a barrier. That rings true to me, actually.
Well, I mean, Sarah mentioned that about this thing on the moon. I mean, this is what John Lear talks about. That the moon is basically a soul harvesting ship. We all go up to the moon. We're all taken up there. It's part of the fake transition after death. John Irwin was trained. A lot of his training involved being taken past death, trained in a deep form of subconscious. His stuff was trained right into the base level of consciousness at the subconscious level. Then the rest of his training was to do with, making that subconscious knowledge available in the conscious so-called real world. So it's clear that there's an awful lot of engineering going on in the astral or the out of past death part of whatever happens after death. I know Miriam's here just listening, but I mean that's part of her skill set. I mean the whole point about this is that they've got control of the human life-death cycle.
I think it's a beautiful part of the awakening is to have this concept and sit on it and see if it feels good to go with it. And I know there have been quite some warnings going out to people, say, if you die, don't go to the white light because that's the trap. The white light is the trap. Go into the dark, bridge the dark, and you don't have to get back into the wheel. And I think one of the things that's happening now is this whole whatever hiring of frequencies that we manifest in our physical body as well, is working with these kind of concepts and see if we can integrate it in our physical and mental system. And if we are able to do so, then we can skip this whole wheel thing, this karmic wheel. And then there will be, the whole concept of not having time and space makes it quite ridiculous to come back again and again because we can do all those lives at the same time, right?
Yeah, there are some people, though. There are, like, for instance, this village I live in where the people are, they're very money orientated. Don't people like that have to go somewhere in the astral? They can't ascend anyway, can they? What do you think about that, Seth?
Well, it takes a certain level. Someone talking.
Yeah.
It takes a certain level of consciousness to be able to hold the power to ascend. I mean, it's not going to be given to the masses. Like you can't market this. You can't. It's not a popular thing. Alchemy isn't anything that most people are going to want to sign up for. I mean, you just look at the first two stages themselves. That's what you're going to have to go through to get to that place of being able to, basically heal yourself, to, integrate higher self, soul code consciousness. And once you reach a certain point of healing, then you can, basically make the playing field even make these things respect you because you know the difference, you know how the game is played, and win, and not have to basically come back and suffer. I mean, the wheel of samsara, right? That you hear about in the Vedic tradition. There's all these ways of explaining what's going on, but the main goal is to quantify the soul. And what that's what their goal is with the transhuman agenda. And I really feel that 2016 and 2017, like we have a pretty good window of time open now to really implement this and really get it out there and let people know, because everything that's happened has come up to this point. Okay, what now? What do we do now? And of course, the main objective is to heal, and really, cleanse your system, start eating right, getting healthy, because you can't even integrate this consciousness. And if you're toxic and you're involved with things that are, basically, pulling you away from any type of self-discovery and an awakening and self-mastery. And it takes, a level of mastery to even be able to face these things. So,
what were you thinking? What were you talking about alchemy? You said it's the first thing that anybody has to sign up for. What does alchemy mean? What does that mean? Seth, are you there?
Well, that's why I named my channel Black Earth Productions. Okay. Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay.
I can. So what? So you were saying I want you to talk about alchemy.
Right.
Alchemy. What's
Sure.
that? Yeah, go.
Beautiful. Yeah, I was saying that's why I named my YouTube channel that I have. It's called Black Earth Productions, because that's the first stage of alchemy. It's called the blackening. And when you enter the gates of the Black Earth, that's when you go into the shadow work and you go into the darkness, to find your lights, to find your true essence. But it takes facing all of these things and that had like the programs and getting into holographic inserts and implants and all sorts of crazy stuff that's happened that has basically riddled itself throughout the etheric body. And that's essentially the clay that they have manipulated to which then manifests here in the physical. Like physical is the last step, the method of creation, how things work. And they've manipulated the fourth dimension with the astral barrier and the etheric body, and that's how they're able to do these things on an unconscious level. That's why there's sickness, disease, mental illness. I mean, just the list goes on and on and on. But really what we're dealing with is an etheric issue, also in tandem with the physical. So there's sort of kind of like a balance that needs to take place, because alchemy is all about the merging of spirit with matter, spirit to soul to matter, like the integration of that into this vessel here in the third dimension. And in the level that I'm talking about, I mean, it's the world has yet to see our kind really reach our full potential, but that is available for those that will embrace it. And it's all about integration of the original template versus the templating that we have been layered over with. And so when somebody goes through the stages of alchemy and and high magic and stuff like that, and you start doing this, you are going to actually be interfacing with all of these types of beings that they talk about, and it's very real. I wish it wasn't real. I
had
sometimes it's just it's crazy, but this has been my experience, and I know other people have had it too, and I want to shed some light on what's actually going on with that. And also we need to know that we have more power over them with all of this and in our connection to to that. Because we're trying to integrate that which is beyond the barrier. It's trying to come here, but they've set things up in a triangulation fashion, and that's when they do the pyramid, right? Which creates the illusion of duality. Getting into advanced vortex mathematics. Well, Nikola Tesla even talked about the 369, and I see the 369 as basically how the astral barrier works. It's a labyrinth. There's different veils. Like people talk about piercing the veil. There's actually nine veils that we need to pass through, and it's all a labyrinth. And if people start getting into astral projection, okay, and because I don't advocate astral projection like at all, because it's a very dangerous realm to go into if you don't know what's actually going on. And these things can present themselves as benevolence and get people caught up in all of this crazy, new age stuff that's really pushing the Syrian B crystalline agenda. So
The what
yeah, it's a lot to
agenda?
get to.
Sorry, the what agenda? The who? Syrian? Did you say?
The Syrian B crystalline agenda.
Okay, and what's that?
Well, it's a lot of what's being peddled out, like with the new age, with like, oh, we're like transcending to fifth dimension, sixth dimension.
Yeah.
But what a lot of people don't understand is that those states of consciousness have also been compromised just as much as the fourth, just as much as what we're dealing with here. And so we're having to do a lot of cleanup and actually, get into our own systems so that these things have no foothold in the mind and the emotions, in your chakra systems, in your etheric body. And it's a lot of work. It's the great work. It's what they talk about, with alchemy, and and the goal is to attain the diamond heart, which is it's a rare thing. But you hear about these things, you hear about these stories and these allegories, but to make all of this self-actualized is the goal. It's not just an idea in the mind anymore. It's what you're actually doing.
So what did you say to attain the what? The dawn part? The what?
I'm sorry, what was that?
You said the great work to attain the Dernpert. What was it? The what? To attain what? I didn't hear.
Well, to the diamond heart.
Oh, the diamond heart.
Yes, the diamond heart, where you are a fully integrated being, as above, so below.
All right, excellent. So interesting. And you've got all this information on your YouTube channel in different parts.
In different segments, yes, here and there. I took 2 years off from YouTube back in I think it was like 2013. And I've just been on a crazy journey. I was traveling, all over the country, working, going through my own process. I mean, I all the stuff that I'm talking about, it's, these are things that I've experienced. So it is subjective.
So it's so Syrians. So the Syrians, are they the bad guys? I thought they were supposed to be
Syrian bees. Yeah. I don't trust any of them at all.
Yeah, I'd just like to ask you what an experience I had, because I went through the Monarch projects. I grew up as an orphan in a Jesuit-run orphanage, etc., and I didn't realize what had happened to me until my book In for the Kill, which is about visiting these two serial killers and, of course, getting involved with the Real IRA as a journalist. But it was this massive attraction to evil constantly, and I didn't know what it was. And someone came to me and said that they thought, it was a friend of Fritz Springmeier, who said they thought, I'd been in these projects, and my task was to be a spy on these people. And
Interesting.
yeah, so I kind of awakened to that, but I was going through reading stuff, and of course I met Miles and told my story as Basis 50. But the other week I this girl had said to me in this particular group to kind of keep a diary on different parts. And, I believe we've all got different parts. They're not like altars, but a different part. And I felt this kind of, this part of me that was like iced off, like, but a very distant part, but I could kind of see it in my mind's eye. Well, this was like 3 years ago, but then 2 weeks ago, I kind of met her in the astral and she kind of attacked me first, but she
Right.
was, running off, basically doing all this kind of like military stuff. And
Mm.
then I remembered, and I'd always remembered this point where I was in school in a lesson where the teacher spun round, pointed at me, and said something. And I felt almost as if I was letting go of part of myself. And I always blame my mother for that. I thought maybe it was my bitchy adoptive mother who made a part of me drift off because it was my intelligence kind of thing. It was, I'm intelligent now, but that was mega intelligent, and it kind of left me. And I thought, oh, that's something to do with my mother. She was so bitchy that this part kind of left me. And I've always felt like this part has been missing, like a car that's had a part yanked out of it. And when I came in
Right.
contact with that girl on the astral who was involved, I got the knowledge as I came back through the different layers that they had pulled her out of at that particular point. They pulled her out and they told her that there'd been an explosion in the classroom and that everyone was dead, and that they would look after her, but she could go into training if she wanted. So that's what I agreed to do. So they basically kind of stole a part of me. Is that true or imagination, do you think?
No, it's absolutely true because their goal is to harvest our genetics, and if certain people have certain abilities or whatever, they're going to try to hone in and take parts of you. You said this happened when you were a child, yeah?
Yeah, when I was 13.
Okay. Right. Yeah, and that's the other thing too. They target the children. Women are the main target, then children. And I'm going to get passionate here because this is something I really need to address. There are not enough men that know the difference, and I'm talking about men that are really not falling into this like effeminate psyop that I mean, I'm over here in the United States, okay, and it's really an epidemic. It's not inspiring. In the men that I'm in network with, like it's a small handful, but it's like all you men out there need to kick it up because the divine feminine force
Hallelujah.
and the children, they need us men to know the difference and to stand up and say and to say no more. Getting into this kind of stuff though, like what I'm talking about with the with the aliens or whatever you want to call them, that's a hard pill to swallow. And unless somebody's actually experienced anything like that, it's hard to really
So,
understand.
so what did they do with my part, and why was it fighting? Fighting what? It was real busy
Mm.
fighting. What was it doing, and how do I get it back?
You demand it. You say that belongs to me, and you're going to give it back.
Right.
Chances are you'll have to kind of claim it. You got to take it back because they're not just going to give you know this back over to us. I had the same experience, and I have Syrian B genetics. I have High Priest Avian genetics, pure insectoid genetics, and see, everybody has these sort of genetics, that have been kind of integrated and stuff like that. But these are ways that they've been able to get in and manipulate our chakra systems, to basically ride in on people. You hear about like walk-ins and stuff like that. Like, I'm not a walk-in or anything like that. I don't trust any of them, because I know the game. I know what's really going on, and they're trying to get certain parts of us so that they can hook us into the tesseract, right? That you hear about the Ouroboros, the snake eating its tail, right? Same thing, the wheel, right? To basic, yeah, I keep saying basically, but it's to make sure that you don't remember who you really are. Your true identity is what they fear the most. And right now, we're at a point that's very critical, and all the things that have been going on in the astral. I mean, I've experienced battles, all that kind of stuff that you hear about, and yeah, it's very real. And we've made progress.
But what is the fighting? Like, what was that part of me fighting? It was busy killing, and what was it doing?
Well, you tell me. I mean, what was going on? I'm curious. What was your experience? Because you're kind of like saying in a general way, but like what actually happened?
Well, I was just following her. I recognized it as this part of me that I called ice because I couldn't feel it. It seemed like really cold, really, really, really cold. And she turned and attacked me, and I went after her, and she was busy fighting, just fighting. And there was a guy there who grabbed something off of her and tilted it and disappeared into another sort of level. She just seemed busy doing things. And I thought, well, busy doing what? Because I have no knowledge of it, you know?
Right. So what does all of that mean to you? Is that an aspect of yourself maybe, or is it something else that's trying to get you to, I don't know, fall into some idea that you're not whole? Because that's the other thing that they don't want us to know, is that we are whole already. It's just a matter of, working through these things through a process of deconstruction. So you come up against this kind of weird stuff. It's like, where did that come from? Why did I have this experience? And I mean, I've had dreams and visions where I'm interacting with people and I don't even know who they are or what's going on, but something's definitely going on, So this physicality isn't the only aspect of reality because of the cataclysms that had taken place. Well, the main one that took place when they destroyed the bridge to Tara was over 560 million years ago. And that's the soul code memory that's within, held within us, that they don't want us to access. So they get us caught up with all this like astral stuff, and you think you're having like a spiritual experience, but really it's malevolence playing both sides of the coin. You know what I'm saying? You hear that? They played both sides. And nobody knows about the third option. They keep people in duality, and so I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to really say about what you experienced. I'm actually wondering what you feel about it, because
I just feel like it's a part of me that they took and have used it for something, or just maybe took it and put it in a kind of a place where I couldn't get at it. So I've functioned in my car. I functioned as a human being that's like a mini, but I'm really a Ferrari. But I function like a mini.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what is that? They've just robbed apart and just kept it somewhere, I suppose.
Pretty much, and it's probably kept there within the astral somewhere, and to get back to reintegrate every aspect of us, because of the fragmentation that's taken place, because of the fragments of the mind, and all the programming that we've had to deal with. It all goes back to the original fragment, and that's when the Earth, the timeline that the Earth is supposed to be on isn't the one that we're on now. It's a fragment off from the original timeline, which is what we're trying to get back to. We're trying to pull this realm up and back into the original timeline, and it's really important right now that people choose which timeline they want to be on, because if they don't choose the right timeline, then they're gonna end up unconsciously or even willingly choosing the timeline that's been laid out by the Noah, which is the New Order of the Ages, all the stuff that we talk about, and they have these beings backing them up 100%. There's other people that have said that they have backed out, that they're gone, don't buy that. That's what they want you to think. And people don't know how this kind of warfare works. This is like tactics. It's like give and take. It's very strategic what's going on. And if you don't know how it works, then you can get caught up. But yes, I would definitely knowing what I know, it sounds like they took a part of you that obviously they didn't want you to have, because if you did, you'd be a Ferrari,
Yeah.
and they don't want that for any of us. So, but it's all about getting that back and claiming it, and realizing that even though we are having interface and some people are experiencing these things, never to forget that within yourself and on a soul level, they can't touch you, and it's about being empowered, being encouraged, and not being so, overwhelmed with, the warfare that's been taking place, because it is overwhelming. It's insane, especially when you start, having interaction with this kind of stuff, which happens to people, sometimes not even, voluntarily. That's how it happened with me. It just started happening, and I didn't even know what was going on, until years later, when things were revealed. So,
So
yeah, but
who is the bad guys? Because I had Mike Kaiser on the show 2 weeks ago, and he was talking about he's a Hebrew scholar, and he was talking about because I always thought, oh, Satan, the fallen angel, which didn't really ring true to me, because I thought, well, there's God and there's an angel, so can't God crunch out the goddamn angel? It kind of put me off God, really. But then he told me about these lesser gods. I had an experience myself where I came face to face with Odin, and I felt such love. I believe Odin is a lesser god, and he said to me that that there was no such thing as Satan. That's the word Shatan means attacker, and basically it's this lesser god called the Lord of Death. Does that ring true to you?
Yeah. Yes, I could definitely agree. I mean, getting into terms and semantics and names, what we're really dealing with is consciousness here. It's a malevolent consciousness that is out to basically, destroy humanity, and not really destroy humanity. It's just more enslaving us, like it's been happening, throughout the eons. Keeping people ignorant, and then there are individuals that have incarnated and stuff like that did bring the truth, because and that's what it's up against. And you hear about the fallen angels and Satan and Lucifer and all of that, and I've really studied the occult information when it comes to all of that. And one thing, when it comes to gods and goddesses, even Manly Hall spoke of this, is that they are all archetypes of our psyche. And that in the beginning, all of these symbols and, things were used as study and meditation to, help with the self-discovery. But what the sorcerers have done and what they did after the cataclysms took place, and there's been many that have taken place. So, the initial one was with Torah, and then you hear about the 100,000-year war with the Draconians and the Pleiadians and all that kind of stuff. And it's very interesting. But
do you think Palladians? Do you think Palladians are good cop, bad cop? That's going on, and they are just the same thing?
Well, I like I said, I don't trust any stellar race, to be honest with you, because they all have agendas, and they're and the agenda is this planet, because we live on a sea planet. It's think about how many billions of life forms are on the planet. It's not just human beings, even though humans are their highest commodity. Because because they need, the physical body to exist here in this realm. And that's another secret that they don't teach people in the New Age. People are, dismissing the physical and saying that the physical isn't important, but it is, because without the physical body, you wouldn't even be able to do this type of integration. You would be, somewhere in the astral or other, other place and end up coming back, or, another less progressive universe. I don't know. It's just like, you start to speculate and wonder what's beyond all of this. I mean, it's, you can get into some pretty interesting theories, but yeah, it's, Satan and the fallen angels and all that is very real, but it's a watered down version that they teach in Sunday school versus the reality.
Like Shaitan is probably this lesser god.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so. I mean, it's silly to say it's an angel, but then someone said to me, nobody calls it an angel in the Bible anyway, but I think he pretty much is called an angel, but it does make sense. It does make sense that it's a god because
Right.
of all the pain and the suffering that's going on. Just so much. I mean, it's not going on in our life so much as people being headed, in Syria.
Right. Well, it's still happening across the world. I mean,
Yeah.
just because it's not on your doorstep doesn't mean it's not a reality.
Yeah, we're we're programmed to blot it out, aren't we, and turn on the TV and just don't think about it and buy something and materialism so we can
Right.
ignore it.
And they don't have to worry about it like that. It's
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Miles, are you there? He's gone to sleep or something. Miles,
No, I just muted, that's all.
No, this is great. I'm really glad that you invited me on here. I feel very grateful, I'll say,
oh,
for the opportunity.
thank you. Your video, I urge everyone to tune into your Black Earth Productions, isn't it? Black Earth.
Yes.
Yeah, fantastic YouTube channel. I've just been listening to them all because they're just fantastic. You just put them on, lay down, relax. And yeah, love it. Miles, what have you got to say to that?
I haven't seen the material. What's it really based on, Seth? What sort of material is it for somebody who hasn't seen it?
Are you asking me, Miles?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
seen it. I mean, obviously,
Okay.
I've seen it, but I mean,
Well, like I
what
said,
kind of,
I need my channel
material
back.
do you do? Is it? I mean,
Yep. Seth, go ahead, speak.
is it video?
Let's can you hear me? Can you guys hear me? Am I coming through?
Yeah, you're
That's
coming
the fair
through.
break up the weather,
God, bloody show.
doing a few things. And
Yeah, he's
Yeah, I'm actually on a microphone, so it's yeah. I gotta listen up over here.
he wants you to talk about
But yeah, it's
what your videos are about, basically. If you could
Right.
list them.
well, the new series that I did that you happened to catch, Christine, is my comeback after 2 years of being gone, and I really just addressed the issue when it comes to this whole twin flame thing, and really buried it because that does exist, but it's very rare, and a lot of what the New Age has peddled out as far as the information of what's going on with all of that is actually a part of the Syrian B crystalline agenda. And there's a lot of people out there thinking that that they're having these amazing experiences, but they're actually being harvested. And I've experienced all of the signs and symptoms that you hear about. But getting into Eve Lorgan's information about the alien love bite is very, very important to understand when it comes to
what are those signs, Seth? Because I mean, I would have gone. I look at this from the point of view of an artificial intelligence that's interactive with our consciousness. In other words, there's something crawling around in the matrix, so to speak, as a base source of our perception.
Right. Well, the main thing with anything is that they cannot create anything. All they can do is manipulate what has been created, and basically put everything on the inverse. And so, when it comes to this type of connection, I mean, and you don't know the difference of what's actually going on. I mean, chances are you are going to come up against the Dark Lords. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. And that's why I don't believe that a lot of people that are out there claiming this sort of thing are even close to what it is, because this consciousness knows what is really going on and is tied into, you know, all the stuff that is being spoken about, you know, on bases and other, you know, media outlets and stuff like that, like what we're doing. But what I'm doing with Black Earth Productions is I've been working to expose this malevolent force on my channel for a very long time. That's been one of my main goals, is to expose this force.
Well, certainly I share that goal, and it's
right.
I mean, we're using different words, I think, for.
Yeah, you'd really like his stuff, Miles. If you listen to it, you really like it. It's very good. He kind of goes into a.
I mean, from an engineering point of view, on both sides of broadcasting, I'm very aware that the broadcasting systems, the digital AI accessed systems, which now all communications, all digital stuff, all works off this digital computer stuff.
Right.
And the domain where the information in pirate radio broadcasting, it was one of the key things, is that the music and the media we were using, you know, way back in the 60s, the music itself wasn't the actual rhythm of the music that was being played. There was an intention carrier. There was a sort of a second level thought carrier which was in that music, and that was intrinsic to what was being broadcast. And some radio amateurs have noticed that. I mean, it was a heck of a surprise that they'd noticed this. That something changed when we started broadcasting in the way we're broadcasting, and it was something which was piggybacking on the signal. And it was, you see, when you transmit a signal, you can use spark gap dot dash stuff and transmit Morse code, or you can transmit a carrier wave. And on the earliest form of transmission, you had this massive carrier wave, and then you modulated the speech on top of the carrier wave. So you actually had two signals there. With AM radio, you actually had three. With FM, which was the next way that they broadcast, and then they chose certain frequency ranges, which are sort of like mind window frequencies. So you have the speech, the actual message, you have the spoken words, but the spoken words, as in a letter, when you write them down, those are simple words, but they convey a concept and something in your mind, and that's what they piggyback something on top of that.
Right.
And that's when we discovered.
Back.
So it's not the mechanism. With computers, it's not the digits. It's not the AND gates, the OR gates, and the microprocessing technical processors and physical bits of silicon, which is the issue. There's a message in the digits. The message is our consciousness, and our intentions are carried in that. And that's in a different domain. And something which some people, I mean, Harold Kautzvela, who's had a bit of a targeting with this, whatever you want to call it, this AI, this spider stuff. It's the domain of that consciousness that is being accessed. So when we're talking with a meaning of something, it conveys a message, and that message is a concept that we understand. It piggybacks on the background of that. And that's interactive. It's instantly interactive on a global scale. Does that make sense?
Yes. Interesting.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Which is why television systems and people suddenly realize, I just turn on a TV channel and it's got a message in there as if something's communicating with you backwards. But I mean, television is a one-way transmission medium. I mean, physically, it transmits a message on a carrier, digital carrier, or a VHF signal or a UHF signal, but with digits, it's in a different domain. There's a secondary domain which is interactive.
Oh. I was just...
In other words, not in the same temporal domain as normal the rest of the stuff.
Excellent. I was just listening to your thing you've just mounted, Miles, Rarely Killed, your part 1. I think you just put that up, haven't you, recently?
Well, I have in that because I went there with my digital camera, my new digital camera way back in 2009, and she was being gaslighted, and she was way ahead of her time. And some people thought she was bats. She's just frankly an old lady going bonkers. And they just didn't get what she was talking about. She was so far ahead. And she showed somebody had left from Kharkiv. They were gazing into her house, and they were moving the carpets around, they were moving stuff around, and then they were moving stuff that only she knew about. And then she explained that they see with your eyes and hear with your ears. So they're right inside your consciousness. So when you think you put something away privately, they would deliberately interfere with that just to say, we can see what we can do and all that. But the point about that is you can gate right back at those bastards. They're sitting in a domain where they think they can get away with it. You can just hit them right back, and we've got that ability.
How can we do that then? How can we do...
Something which so many people have completely missed. Rani, the chief medical officer of, I think, Lapland in Finland, you're talking about a professional medically qualified doctor, but in Europe, they don't have the same lockdown, shutdown of wider conceptuality that you have in the West, particularly in America, and in Britain with the health service, where everything has to be fixed with a drug. Nothing can be fixed with any higher spirituality or consciousness. The point is, a lot of people say when you go out remote viewing, you're floating out there, whatever you're doing. And Matt Todd also referred to this in one of the bases. In one sentence, Roundy got across a really important physical thing. She decided to remote view. She meditated. She did what was necessary. She came out of her body. But being a doctor and being inquisitive, she lifted up her hand and measured her own pulse. That one statement proves that when you're in the so-called astral domain, you can physically touch and have physical feedback and cognitive, be able to measure your own pulse. That means you've got to feel, you've got to touch, you've got to have something to do that. You've got to measure, you're thinking, feeling, observing, you're doing everything you normally do in the physical domain. But people think that when you normally go in the astral, oh, well, you can't do anything. I mean, Matt Todd was going into Masonic ceremonies and doing stuff, and he was literally smashing skulls in the ceremony and destroying what they were pumping all their magic energy into. So he had that physical effect, and he also had that effect where he went into an underground base. There were hundreds of people caged in these light little cages, and they were in some kind of state where a part of their soul or whatever was in a cage. The cage was basically paper thin. It was completely breakable, but they didn't know that. So they stayed in their cage. But the cage was completely, they could just gone through it in a second. And he released them. And all these people managed to escape from this base. They just broke out because they didn't know they could break out. But you can. And that kind of thought traps so many people because they don't think they can get through this, but they can. Likewise, if they get targeted, you can just fight these bastards right back and just send all the negative intention right back to them and just blow them to pieces with their own thoughts and their own abilities, because they're out there trying to communicate and lock us down. We're all sitting, oh, afraid, oh dear. You just knock it right back at them and wipe them out with their own intention, but you must not include your own negative intention in that, because then you fall into their trap.
Right. It's a fine line, but you're absolutely right, man. And that
was one of the aspects of the pirate radio stations, how they stayed on the air. There's this thing called intelligence transfer. So what happened was ITS sequencing. It was just a name we call it. I think it's actually a phrase from computer language. But the point was that the hostile intent of the governments who chose, or the government, or the private little nasty little cabal groups who wanted to take that consciousness. This consciousness rising was happening in Ireland at the time. And we've got a major project to put together a huge film and series about Ireland Awakes, because whatever consciousness which was built into the DNA of the so-called ancient Irish recovering from whatever happened in the
Right. And it's interesting, man. I was actually able to trace my lineage back. Well, you hear about the Druids and all of that, but
well, the ancient Druids is nothing like what the present ones are.
Right. Well, that's what I'm getting at, man. You know, even the history about that, and I really advocate, you know, Michael Tessarion's work. I actually commented on one of your posts the other day. I was like, "Hey, man, you know what's going on, Miles?" And I asked,
hang on, Seth. We're going to break. If everyone could just mute, we'll be back in 3 minutes.
Here at Revolution Radio, we believe in freedom of ideas, freedom of speech, but above all, we believe in freedom of existence through self-reliance. This station is 100% listener supported, and as a fundraising promotion, I have a kick-ass free gift for a $100 donation. 35,000 seeds. 25 years in the freezer. Long-term storable, 54 different varieties. So if food prices go crazy, the shit hits the fan, or if you just want to save tons of money every year by creating your own food like I do, grab our seed pack special. Just look for the banner on the homepage at freedomslips.com. Don't be a statistic. Don't be part of the problem. Be part of the solution. We need, as humans, to start taking care of ourselves and not depending on the megacorps to provide unhealthy, nasty food. Included in this package is also a DVD with 900 survival and off-grid living documents and the offline home canning how to do everything website all on the DVD. So when you're growing all that food, you know how to can it, store it, preserve it, etc. with all these documents. So thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. I hope that you will pick up this package and start learning to be free. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, where information never sleeps and freedom is one seed that needs to be planted.
What we do in life, it goes in eternity.
Hi, and we're back on air. It's Christine and Joanna Hart show, and I'm bringing you Sethikus Boza this afternoon. Sorry, I'm going to slip up with that name, Mr. Sethikus Boza. This afternoon, he is the producer of Black Earth Productions, which you can check out on YouTube, which I've checked out, and there's many fascinating videos there for you. And we're also with Miles Johnston, who's the producer of Bases. And he has with him the lovely Marion, who's come over from
Holland, from Amsterdam.
I was like, the word Dutch came into my mind. Oh, shit,
Yes.
Dutch, where do they come from? Dutchland. No, Holland. There you go. Oh, gosh. We have to give you... We have to give you a chance, Miriam, to speak. Somebody said we were just chatting in the. I was just chatting in the chat room to some listeners. Give me some feedback from the show. Someone wanted to ask. So I'll come back to you just straight away, Miriam. There's a question in the chat room for you, Seth, just to say about the alien love bite thing, and you were saying how relevant it is. Do you mean that when we as humans find love or find our twin flame, that these creatures somehow get involved to screw it up? Is that what you found important about Eve's work?
Absolutely. Yes, when it comes to the real, we are all targeted because of who we are, and the reality of the situation, you know, it goes back eons. This is eons of history still being played out, and it all goes back to the original consciousness and what was there in the beginning before these malevolents came in and started, you know, causing all the things. You know, there's a theory that claims that you know, all beings come from source, and you know, I just don't buy that anymore, because most of the belief systems on this planet are doing nothing more than feeding the astral barrier, and like I said, they play both sides. Okay.
Yeah.
But there is something beyond it, And that's what this consciousness is. It's very ancient, it's very rare, and it takes a high level of spiritual maturity to even claim something like that, and it's just being, tossed around like a common thing. And I'm frankly sick of it because of what it's created. But okay, and so when the whole alien love bite stuff comes into play, they know that this consciousness is coming in, okay, and all of that is designed to offset the real, because to create more chaos and stuff like that. Because, man, there's so many people that are suffering, because of this sort of thing. And all these things are doing is they're capitalizing on the situation and basically harvesting the energy. And, and Evil Organ talks about the, my labs and, these black op projects with, the government and, the military and stuff like that. Like she's actually counseled, super soldiers.
Victims. Yeah. We had James Bartley, who works with her. He was on a show a couple of months ago.
Right.
He's actually coming on next Monday. So this time next week, he's coming on. So I haven't been able to get in contact with Eve yet, but I will try and at some point.
That's basically what all of that it's designed to offset the real. And it's I'm not a self-proclaimed twin flame, but that is what I am, but I'm here to set the record straight, because it's very important for people to know the difference, because what is coming in, this is for everybody, where and that's why they don't want it to happen. And then they get people caught up in these crazy scenarios, these romantic situations, and you just completely lose yourself, man. You completely lose yourself to it, and you're not actually discovering who you are, which is what the real is all about. Discovering what's really going on, integrating your your true system, and understanding how you actually work, the mechanics of spirit, the DNA of soul. I mean, there's just so much beyond what is, the limited perspective of things when it comes to all this, which is tied into that whole relationship thing,
I was always attracted to really, really dark men, or if I smelt that there was some kind of demonic activity going on, I was really, really attracted. I don't know if that was set up in me.
The dark side is seductive. It's very seducing. And you hear about that. It's interesting that the whole allegory of the Star Wars and the Jedi, that actually goes back to my ancestors, the predecessors of the Druids, who were called the Jedi. And they were out of Ireland and out of Egypt, pre-Diluvian Atlantean culture, which goes back 300,000 years at least.
What were you?
This is history you don't hear about. I've really dug into all this stuff. So
what were you talking about? The Dark Lords. Do you know who they are specifically?
Well, that's the demiurge. That's
right.
The malevolence. I mean, there's many terms and references. The demons, the jinn. You can go on and on and on. Describing these sorts of things. Yaldabaoth, like the Gnostics say. Saturn, Satan, Saturn, same acronym, right? But yeah, it just all goes back to the fact that we this consciousness stands at the helm of their complete destruction. Because it's here to open the gates back up again. I hear about the gates and the halls of Amente and all this stuff. Well, what is that? And these are bridges that were once in place that were completely taken out. It goes back to Maldek, the Maldekian flames, because Maldek was essentially the bridge point to the highest of the high, and that's why they took the Doth principle out of the tree of life. Because that's the knowledge, that's the twin sun, that's the twin flame consciousness. That's what it really is, and the Dark Lords have kept this secret for eons because they don't want us to know.
I haven't heard of that. The Maldakian flame. I've never heard of it before.
Maldak is the asteroid belt. Okay.
Oh, right. Where can I find this? Is this on your YouTube too?
Yeah, it's I have a video uploaded with a dude named Cyrus King and his partner named Mac Alessi, and he did a series on twin flames that I uploaded. And see, I was experiencing all this stuff, and I had no reference point whatsoever to any of this stuff. But his information was some of the first stuff that I actually related to, because it's what I experienced.
But his on that twin flame though, isn't that you speaking? That's your voice, isn't it? I'm sure it's the same voice.
What's that? I'm sorry.
On the twin flame lectures, maybe I've listened to the other ones, not the twin flame. On the twin flame lectures, is that him speaking or you?
Well, I have many people that I'm in network with that I've uploaded segments for, but the particular videos that I'm talking about, it's twin flames, right. 144 frequency, and the Dark Lords. It's 2 videos, and it's him speaking and his partner Mac Alessi, and they get into it, and they get into the history of what's happened with Maldak and. What's happening with, vampirism, psychopathy, and the Dark Lords. And it's just, different layers, different pieces of the puzzle, because it's like we're all putting this tapestry back together. It's like we all have fragments, right? Because that's, the fragment that, the understanding that you have, the understanding that Miles has, the understanding that Sarah has, the understanding that my partner, Natalie, has. The understanding that I have, and the understanding that Max has, and everybody else, man, and we're all trying to bring this back together, and we are closer now than we have ever been. That's the thing. It's like, don't lose hope, because we are so damn close to this really blowing open, which is going to happen in the next 2 years.
Yeah, I got the incoming that something's going to happen very, very soon. I think it is. Mirjam, what do you think about all this? Mirjam? She's not there. Isn't that odd, Seth? I think they've left us. They were supposed to... What?
It seems like they're still there. I'm looking at this.
I'm here. Okay. I'm using Miles's computer. So I didn't know how to get the mute of the.
Has Miles gone for a nap or something, and he's left?
No, getting us some coffee. That's okay.
I'm just joking. I'm ribbing him.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
Well, the thing is, it's very difficult to go with all the stories. Obviously, Sethikus has done a lot of research. My approach to the thing is so different that I don't have an opinion on everything he's talking about, which is brilliant because he did a lot of research. And I mainly work with clients that are targeted individuals or have experience that they can't explain, or just have domestic issues and going through a transformation themselves. But the interesting thing for me is that with all the information that he comes up with, as well as a lot of others, that it's all there. The information is there. So I connect with a lot, and I try to stay away from the stories, connecting or, integrating the stories too strongly. So people identify them with the story instead of the sensation or the frequencies the story carry. And that's where I come into play. So I assist people in realizing that it's just those frequencies and not the story that have an influence.
Yeah, interesting.
I've been working as a transformational coach for years now, and to my surprise, I get more and more clients that really are awake without realizing they are awake. And that's another thing that I think is I really should be pointing out to a lot of people. You know, you're far more awake than you think you are.
Yes.
So step away from being a victim to all these stories.
Absolutely.
And Miles brought the coffee. Sorry.
No, but this is the point. This is the thing I mentioned, that why I mentioned sort of about Rowney or Matt Todd. People may realize they can go out into the astral or whatever it is, but they don't realize they can do so much, so they don't do it. And it's likewise, if you don't realize you're awake, you don't realize you've got all this stuff that you can do, and that's one of the reasons why there's so much fear and stuff put out in media, is that it's constantly trying to tell us we can't do anything, and if we are in a fear mode, then we don't realize we can listen and do much more. The so-called predator doesn't want us to know we can bite the predator back by getting the predator to eat itself and disappear.
I think we have to control ourselves in those realms as well. I know sometimes when I go into the astral, if I see someone I don't like or having an argument with them, I absolutely destroy them. You know, it gets pretty ugly. And I thought last night, as I was busy destroying somebody, that, you know, we should also know that that's a realm where we have to do sort of good and stay on the right hand path rather than, you know.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's all about learning how to navigate, you know, through, because it is a labyrinth. I mean, it's essentially a hall of mirrors that you're walking into, you know, the realm of all possibility. And that's why the astral can be so confusing, because you're interfacing with so much stuff all at once. And unless you know how to navigate, you know, it's going to create a lot of, you know, chaos, and then these beings capitalize on that because they see that you're trying to break out, and they're like, oh no, we got to get in there and really try to mess things up even more sometimes. So it can get tricky.
That's absolutely true. Yeah, but I think a lot of human beings, let's say the physical vehicle that carries a bunch of frequencies, which is then a manifestation of something, have a beautiful building compass that if they know where to find it and how to calibrate it, it works perfectly. And I've seen a lot of amazing things happen just by people allowing this inner knowledge to come to the surface and work with it. And then all the stories are gone, which to me is brilliant. I've only had a few times that really had to send us. Yeah, go.
I just had a question about your clients. I mean, they're experiencing like really, really profound healing, no?
In my vision, yes. And it's not my doing. It's just assisting them to allow themselves to be going through this process. Mm-hmm. And to me, because, you know, it's the first times it happened, I could travel to other dimensions and see what's going on, where to get the right information for that particular client, or, you know, channeling information for a group or whatever. It showed me that it's very easy to travel as long as you allow it to happen, and you will get exactly the information you need for this specific client. The fact that it's so easy to travel through time and space is quite astonishing to me. But now, you know, I had to give in too and say, wow, this is brilliant, you know, can go
I like
with
this
it.
one, man. She knows what's up. Yes.
Sorry, I missed that one, Sethikus.
I was just saying, I like what you're saying. It's
good.
What you just said about like traveling time and space. It's like, we can access all the realms. All is within, right? As within, as within.
Yes.
And you know, accessing that and, you know, moving past all the pain, because there's a lot of pain. I mean, excruciating pain. I wept for a whole year in 2012 when quarantine was lifted. The astral quarantine was lifted in February of 2012. And there's other reports that I got back then. But that whole year, I was going through another round of interface like I had back in the year 2000, you know, and.
Well, isn't it also your experience that it keeps going on? I mean, I was in the Isle of Wight last week. I visited some really ancient sites. I got some information what was going on, but I got a hit myself as well. It keeps going on. But as long as you stick with it and see, okay, where's this coming from? What is it really moving into? Then I'm okay. Mm-hmm. And it always gets you more information. It connects the dots, and it allows you even more to get away from the stories, because the stories create the fear, in my opinion.
Right, and they create the belief systems that humanity has been enslaved to for eons. Yes. That is perpetuated by that fear. That it's like we got to bow, we got to grovel. We're these rotten, dirty humans, and it's like no, now is time for empowerment. Now is time for encouragement.
Yeah. And what I really like is that you were talking about people evolving and going through this process of alchemy, which some really do on a conscious level. Some people are less educated, they have less luggage to take along on the journey, and they make really simple adjustments in their lives, which make them radiant with something that's just about giving in to what's happening. I think that's very healing, not only to them, but also to their surroundings. So that it's you being so aware of what's going on, like Christine, how far more stories to deal with because you're intelligent, you see. So the task is even bigger.
It's interesting. I was explaining to someone saying that the astral can be a bit like that film Jacob's Ladder. I don't know if you saw that, where he was constantly lost in little vignettes of his life.
H.R. Geiger stuff, man. Like, it's nuts.
It can be really wearing and awful. You can sort of get out of the bed in the morning tired because you've been doing all this work,
Right. And that's why also pulling back from all of this stuff that they're doing and just, and finding that place within yourself where you can heal and that you can do the inner work and you're not around people that are, sucking off your energy, like a lot of people do. And making sure that you're cutting out all toxic things in your life, and that sometimes might be people, that might be a job, that might be, whatever. But it's like you're not even going to be able to do this kind of work unless you're at a certain place. And it has to be self-actualized, and you have to put effort forth that's not going to be given to you. It's not going to be handed to you on a silver platter and say, here's your soul code genetics, here you go. It's like, no, you got to get in there and reclaim them from these things that don't want you to, break past their control. And I was listening to Sarah tonight. There's a segment that my beloved Natalie sent to me from Sarah. She was talking about, the technology of, this dimension is just as real as the third dimension. You just can't see it though. But I've seen it. I've seen this though. I've seen the barrier, frequency fence and stuff that's over the planet, not like full on, but it's there and it exists and it's set up to, implement this fear. Those programming, there's, getting into CERN and all that kind of stuff. There's actually at least 24 of those things on the planet, which is all hooked into what's known as the Phoenix Spike Matrix, and is then what is basically feeding into the Phantom Matrix, which is the astral barrier. And so, yeah, and it's all fear. It's all fear, like you're saying, just, to keep people in that low frequency, that, the feedback loops that, that cause death. I mean, that's pretty much what it comes down to at the end of the line. But we're coming into a time now where the original template of consciousness is here and is available for those that are ready to integrate it. But if that's what they want, then they're going to have to go through the process. And I really encourage everyone to study the 7 laws of alchemy.
And where can we get
because it's
those? Where can we get those from?
Well, I can send you a link. I made a post about it on my Facebook. I'm always writing articles like on my Facebook. I have a lot of information on there that I don't actually have on my YouTube channel.
Okay.
That I've been doing. I presented the seven laws, and the number one law is it's all a state of mind. It's all about your state of mind.
It's
because
interesting
where the mind
that
goes,
Isaac
mind
Newton
goes. What's that?
It's interesting that Sir Isaac Newton was probably a greater alchemist than he was ever a physicist. So people quote the laws of physics, Newton's laws, but really, if we were able to get his vast resource of alchemical research and information, I think that would be a true treasure if somebody could get hold of that stuff.
Right. Yeah, the 7 laws are very important to understand because it, you're getting into the minds, and that's why they do mind control. That's why they do the mind control, because they know it's all a state of mind, and if they can control the mind, then they can control what basically manifests here on the planet. So taking your mind back and getting your mind right is going to set everything else right. But it's it can be a difficult process because you do come up against that programming, you do come up against that fear, and you do, in some cases, like I've experienced, have actual interface with these draconian, reptilian, grays, all that kind of stuff. Like I've had experience with all of that. The insectoids, stuff that Stuart Sturlow, I think that's his name.
Yeah.
Talked about, and
why are they always ugly, these creatures? I mean, why do they look like reptilians? It's kind of odd.
They're not always ugly. That's the thing. They're some of them are very beautiful, and there's what's known as the draconian bliss that they can get people drunk with it, and that's what's going on with this false twin flame stuff. They're getting people hooked into these situations where they're experiencing this like massive influx of love and stuff like that, but it's the honey pot, man. It's like a Venus flytrap.
Well, this is very disturbing because a dear friend of mine is completely hooked on a twin flame delusion, and I felt it.
Well, it's not a delusion, Miles. It's just been manipulated, man. So, but I'm listening.
Like a succubus issue, a love thing like that.
Yeah, that can definitely happen. It just depends, and people really need to know the difference when it comes to this, man. I mean, it's like, and that's why I released the Blue Flame videos, man, because I had enough. I had enough of it, and I just, because nothing was getting anywhere with these twin flame communities and all the stuff that's going on in these groups. It's just like they're all just whining and pining about whatever, and they're not realizing what is actually going on, man. And it's like everyone just needs to step back and really look at the facts and what's already presented itself that we can all verify.
Gosh.
I mean, if you have somebody who's in that, how do you do that? How do you get somebody? How do you use somebody out of that situation?
How do you get somebody out of it? Well, they have to want to, be assisted. I mean, they probably have a lot of questions, but they
don't want to know. They're in love. They're completely. Their life is just wasting away with this delusion. But
are they like an obsessed? Is it like obsessive? Like they can't just pull back?
Yeah, I mean they're traveling happy around the world and spending 6 months doing practically nothing with their life with this person who was very happy to have them around, but. This twin flame, and this person's talking in their head all the time, and all that. It's terrible.
Right. Yeah, it can be. If people don't know the difference, and I can say I've experienced that. I've experienced that difference, and I've also experienced the real though, and that's what I'm actually experiencing now, because the person I'm with now, man. I mean, the stuff I'm talking about, I give much credit to her, as well. She's my partner, and she knows a lot about what's actually going on with everything, in context to, what you have done with with your work, Miles. And I haven't really looked into Revolution Radio all that much. I just heard about it when you contacted me. But no, this is great. This is really good that this is being addressed, because you yourself, Miles, are saying that you know somebody that is dealing with this, man. And yeah,
I mean, I can't mention their name, but it's not fair to mention.
It's okay.
But right. It's a clear case of they're really into this twin flame, and they're convinced, and sometimes the other twin flame will change.
Right.
But
and that does happen.
Particular case started. They had a physical experience with somebody who disappeared, and they were chasing that, and this has been a part of their life for like 15 years.
Wow. Yeah, man. And that inverted, it's like an inverted like energy, the honeypot, like I was talking about, man. And it's like this like insane amount of like bliss, man. And it's very sexual, and it's very like it just overtakes you, man. And a lot of the times, because of the MyLab situations that are set up, like what Eve Lorgan talks about, they don't even know that they were set up to begin with, and some things could have happened, back in childhood or whatever. It just depends, on the situation. I mean, it's just basically a big mess. It's a big giant mess.
I think it starts with some kind of trauma involving maybe a parent or somebody they missed or they lost at a young time in their life.
Right. Well, I'm talking about like MyLab stuff, man. When it comes to two people getting paired up, as an experiment, it's like, okay, we're gonna experiment on these two and see what happens, and then they just harvest that energy up, and it's like it's pretty sick and twisted, man. It's like putting a bunch of little crickets in a big giant tank with a bearded dragon, and you're just like enjoying it, like gladiator type of situation, but it's a different type of harvest, man. And the main thing though with the real is discovering who you are. Who are you, right? We're in this wonderland. Who are you? And a lot of people don't know who they are because they get so caught up in all of this stuff that just sucks the life out of them, man. It's insane. So
that's interesting. I have that over and over again, actually, that kind of sexual obsessive stuff, and it was always with certain people, like the leader of the
nothing wrong with that, if you do it right, but
it was always with certain people, like, and I thought, like, the leader of the Real IRA, etc. And I thought, oh well, I've just fallen in love, or oh, this must be because I'm going to write a novel about them. And I let it waste years and years and years and years would go by with me chasing them or moving near them, and the novel would never.
And it never happens, right?
It never happened, yeah.
Right. And oftentimes it's a setup, But always know that no matter what's going on, like you're still, you're moving forward every day.
You think so?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, because eventually, it's like you'll get past it. I'm just saying in general. I'm not saying you like specific, but it's just in general. Like people need to get past all of this sort of like fantasy, and realize what's going on, and that we're in a war, and if we don't capitalize on the time we're at now in the next 2 years, then the gate's going to start closing.
Oh.
Well, can we concentrate on how we actually capitalize on that? How do people empower themselves to take positive steps to?
Well, like I said,
we can make that happen.
Right. Well, like I said, man, it's all a state of mind. It's getting your mind right, and and believing in yourself. If you're going to believe in anything, man, believe in yourself. you know, because we've been so conditioned, you know, the slave culture that we live in, you know, like we're just like these groveling, you know, lowly, you know, people that have to bow, you know, and it's like no, we are innate beings with much potential
It's
and
just
much.
the way that society has been engineered, with poverty, wages.
Exactly.
Right.
We have
People
to
having
we
to do
have to
jobs.
focus we have to focus on money the whole time. I know I do. You have to focus on money, and then you have to think of yourself all the time because of the way it's set up.
Right. And it's make it, you know, and people that are going through that kind of thing, and I am too. I mean, I'm not like, you know, super rich, you know, person, you know, I've the last 5 years I've been through hell. I've been faced with poverty and you know, being on the streets, not having, you know, a network or resources, you know, just out in the wilderness, you know, fending, you know, trying to figure stuff out while I'm interfacing with all this stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Like
that seems
thinking
very
I'm
common.
absolutely insane, man, and I don't have anybody to talk to about it.
That's a common signature in the last 5 years, and I'm convinced that a lot of people, such as ourselves in this conversation, have
Right.
somehow been placed into that environment so we can somehow tell everybody else about it.
Right, there's that. But at the same time, it's like people need to get past, you know, the whole social status thing, man. It's got to go because we're not going to actually move forward, you know, in any of this. I feel until we just let all of that go and realize who we are, and no matter what the situation is, it's like we can all still pull it together because there's those us out there, man. I've tried, like what you guys are doing is great, you know, but over here it's been really hard because people just don't care, man. They don't care. You know, there's no, you know, outlet for this sort of thing, and you know, the idea of like having like a healing center and a place where, you know, the people can come to learn about these sorts of things is something that has been, you know, in my vision personally. But yeah, it's yeah.
Have those potential centers, which could help people, essentially being contaminated with what I would call a new age movement, which was essentially created by certain agencies to basically steer off anybody who was waking up. So they'd go to these places and end up being completely misled.
Right, and that has happened with a lot of things that have risen up, you know, and have gotten going. They infiltrate and subvert. It's like, you know, it's like they see anything that's like threatening their agenda, like on a big scale, they'll go in and, you know, try to mess it up, and it happens a lot, you know, and that's why, you know, keeping things like in, you know, small pockets, you know, but rural networks, you know, kind of, you know, how it was before, you know, the Sumerian Draconian Empire basically rose up. Yeah, you hear about that, right?
Anunnaki, you know, David Icke station was dreadful to see the infiltration there. Classic case of Animal Farm, I think, in many cases. But there must be individual ways if people need to. I mean, one of the things a friend of mine was to set up centers for peaceful coexistence, and that was her mission, which hasn't so far materialized. But the idea is that individuals and small groups just get together and do their own thing,
right?
And keep it off Facebook, keep it off the social media, and just be quiet and keep it on a word of mouth thing. Maybe communicate using letters, because the whole social media thing is designed so that, you know, this AI, this pattern recognition, data mining type of software can sort of find
and
these,
that, you know what,
and then hit them.
Right. You know, yeah, like I said, you know, it's like we're in a war, man. You know, they don't own the playing field, though, man. That's the thing. They want us to think that they have complete control of it. They don't.
They are abusing, the referee is abusing his position, and that's putting it in a very kind and mild way without using any other word.
Right. But we are all here to make the playing field even, man, and say, you know what? I know how this works now, and now we're going to win. And it's a bold statement. It's a bold statement, man. to declare something like that. But I really think
we
if
are
we
winning.
keep going, I really,
But
yeah,
by
right.
saying we're going to win, you refer to the future.
What,
Right,
Miles?
you declare within yourself.
Yes.
So,
Sorry.
Christine?
Sorry. So I think I lost Miles a minute there. What were you saying before the Draco Empire rose up? Did they rise up at a certain point then?
Well, the timeline that history is on is actually not the real timeline.
Right.
Because I remember being in school and they were talking about Egypt and stuff, and nobody knows where Egypt came from, man. Like, it just like came out of nowhere, right? That's why it's such a mystery. But Samaria was actually what rose up after the cataclysm, the second cataclysm that took place, which was, the fall of Atlantis, Lemuria, about 28,000.
You mentioned Michael Tazarian. One of the most crucial things about this part of the world was that after the fall of Atlantis,
Right.
the re-civilization of this area, the so-called grasslands of Europe, came from these islands, which later became the British Isles.
Right.
After the seas rose. And it is because the source knowledge is in that group who emerged from this area that there's been such an effort to toxify, suppress, and control
Right.
the secret knowledge based within the construct of the DNA of those individuals from
Absolutely.
which is why the so-called British Empire and control structures and the remanipulation of the energies within the standing stones to affect base construct knowledge from this region has been so heavily focused. And that is why whatever was going on recently at the end of the last century, this thing called Ireland Awakes, because, Ireland's the wrong name. There's a whole lot of plugins there that triggers people. But that's why there's been so much effort in this part of the world to nail down,
Right.
shut down higher consciousness and higher awakening.
Right. And you know what's interesting about the new UFC champion, Conor McGregor, right? He's from Ireland, right? It's a big thing, man, right now, Conor McGregor. But he understands certain principles, man. I've listened to interviews with him, and he gets into metaphysics, man. He gets into, that it is all a state of mind. He basically called his fight, man. He said this and this and this is what's going to happen, and it did. And this guy's like full-blooded, Irishman. Mystic
man. Interesting because Michael Tessarian's material, some of it was based on a small book with only very little, only about 1,000 printed, called Ireland, Land of the Pharaohs. And that book, and the author of the book, I knew him very well, was focusing a great deal on using a parody or the narrative of the Matrix films in how a false reality was delusionally created. But that was only a small part of the work. The connection with the Egypt or the Egyptians today have got virtually nothing to do with Egypt, but the DNA of the base population for these islands are closer to Tutankhamun than anywhere else. So, Ireland was originally called Scotia, or not originally. I don't like using original because they've got date lines. But the ancient Druids, as opposed to the modern Druids, which are so virtually totally different.
Right.
The scale of the knowledge which from those islands gave the early education to South America. There was a tremendous connection with the wise and the great elders of the Native Americans, North and South.
Yes, man, exactly.
And that information,
it's all coming together.
It's been
suppressed. No, you're right. Mm-hmm.
So isn't that book, Miles? That's Andrew Power, isn't it? The name of the author, Andrew Power.
Yeah, Andrew Power, the late Andrew Power. He became actually an Illuminati. The original Illuminati, that is the wise, illuminated ones, as opposed to the contaminated versions, which we, the use of language, it's all the evil all comes from the Illuminati. Because if you're going to attack any source of knowledge or any source of information, you don't go for the Lord Mayor who's there for only a year. You don't go for the Prime Minister. You may go for the odd king lineage, but what you really go for, you go for the people who really know that information, who really know the ancient secrets, and they got hit, and that is why the toxic effects of it sort of melts down from that. But not all of them. There's a vast number that weren't. And so the secret knowledge which Andrew found, and he went through many trials and tribulations, including some of the false imagery and the false fears that were presented. That book was by mistake made into a PDF, which was released by somebody who promised they wouldn't. But if he hadn't done that, nobody would be able to find it online, because he certainly he wasn't able to print any more. But some of the concepts of that were built into Michael Tazarian's work.
His work is nearly all based on Andrew Power's work. So that's interesting.
Andrew Power was begrudgingly, well, he couldn't do anything about it. So he was a bit...
Because he's dead. Seth, I just want to ask you a bit, you were talking about the male energy and the female energy, because I have to agree with that, right. That at this moment in time that men, obviously not you guys we're speaking to, but a lot of men have become quite feminized. They're very, all this, be in touch with your feminine side, be in touch with your feminine side, even down to the Hollywood actors, to they're not claiming their, and I think the male energy has been a bit demonized, hasn't it? Oh, is
That's
it?
an absolute psyop. Because
absolutely. If you're a real man, you got to. Well, I don't know. You got to be gay, really, haven't you?
Yeah, you've got to be gay.
It's not a judgment on anyone that has chosen that particular lifestyle. It's just how things actually work with the laws of the universe and the laws of alchemy. Like I'm talking about, there's, the seventh law is the law of gender, right? There's no getting away from that. And it's in nature, it's in the universe, and the polarity is there, to basically bring two sides of the same coin together, right? Male, female, black, white. We're dealing with electromagnetics. This has nothing to do with good and evil. This is what we have to work with here. And the key, one of the major keys that has been lost is the union of man and woman. What potential is really there? I don't think the world has really seen the potential of what is there because of the social conditioning, and I'm all about the family, I'm all about the tribe, I'm all about that, what I'm saying? But what it's turned into isn't working, man. You got domestic violence, you just got insane, people all across the planet don't know who they are, know what's going on, don't know these laws.
Seth, isn't that because they've made it a rule that you're socially shamed if you're not married? So all of us get to a certain age where like, oh shit, I'm not married, quick. So everybody marries. Right. I mean,
you rush into it, and then you have kids, and it's like you don't even know what's going on, and then reality hits you in the face, and then you're left with
a lot of marriages, certainly where I live, they're about money. They're definitely about money. They're about, will you keep me? Have you got enough money? Oh, I've snagged a man who earns enough money. And there's no sexual connection between us. It's certainly not about
it's very low level. No.
It's not even about sex. It's friends. It's friendship. It's an agreement. It's an agreement,
well,
actually.
It's basically like, people get hooked up for all the wrong reasons all the time. And really a lot of it's out of fear, the fear of being alone.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I can't be alone. I got to be with somebody. It's like, no, you can be alone to discover who you are. And I spent years by myself, man, like broken hearted, my heart ripped out of my chest, going, what the hell just happened to me? But, really going into my pain and really going into the darkness and really healing, past all of this crazy stuff that we're talking about, I did come to, together with who I'm meant to be with. And it's a beautiful thing, man. But there's a trial of initiation that somebody has to go through if they want the real. And, but getting getting into, what's happened with men and how we've been conditioned to be effeminate. It just all goes back to the slave mentality. Men, we're supposed to be at the forefront protecting the feminine and, the womb of nature.
But
And look at what's happened to nature, man. Look at what's
I mean,
happened.
Is it not the women who want to show they can defend themselves?
I think
that's
that the feminist movement
it's on both sides.
Yeah, the
Right.
feminist movement, Miles, has misled everyone that women. Again, I see this in my area. It's a moneyed area in a powerful part of the world, in London. That the women have become like men, very much so. They kick they pussy whip the men, so the men are becoming more and more softer and more meek, and the women are becoming more and more butch, and they're kind of dominating the men.
And that's a complete inversion of the law of gender.
Yeah,
because that's not how it works, and you wonder why there's so much chaos. So until we flip the magnet and bring things back, to where it's like you're with the people, and it's friends too. It's people. It's like what are we doing here on this planet, man? Why are what is this? We are here to create life and existence and make it good, and not get caught up in all of this crazy stuff. And because a lot of it is propaganda too, to instill that fear.
And I think
the Illuminati's doing this and that. Yeah, they're doing it, but it's like
Hollywood tells us how to behave these days in the TV, and
right. They want to give.
A lot of children are turning off to that, though.
They want to give us the illusion that they have more power than they really do.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to just give everyone a list of where everyone is. So if you want to look at Miles's stuff, of course, most people know about Bases, and it's out there. And are you doing a new one with Mirjam today, Miles? Are you filming?
No, Mirjam has just arrived. I mean, I'm finishing off the second half of the re-edit with Rowney. I've got stuff to shoot.
But I definitely will do a video with Miles this week as well.
Yeah, we've got a bit of a tight schedule.
Because I think that what Mirjam was sharing is a kind of shamanistic talent as well. She's like a shaman, from what she was saying, because that's what the ancient shamans used to do, travel to do healing, So that should be a really interesting basis. I look forward to that. What's Mirjam's second name, so the listeners can look out for it?
Janse.
Who?
Janse.
It's spelled Mirjam Janse.
Can you Mirjam Janse? J-A. Do you know what, Miles? You can put it in the blurb above this this show. Yeah, you can put it in the blurb. And Sethikus, your name is pretty difficult to remember, but Miles will put it up there as well. So it's Sethikus Boza, B-O-Z-A, and you can look at Black Earth Productions and Limited. So that's on YouTube. So people can reference that. And look it up. My show and my Facebook's Christine Joanna Hart. You can get me on Facebook. My book also is on Amazon, Alien Experiences. And if you want to keep the show on the air, folks, if you can make a donation, that'll be fantastic. My PayPal account is Warner News, W-A-R for Rachel, N-E-R, Warner News, N-E-W-S at sky.com. So that's me. And thanks to Revolution Radio that's given us the fantastic airtime. Can you possibly hang this show on Bases, Miles? That'll be...
Yeah, it'll be a Bases 50 part, God knows what.
I know, they're kind of growing, aren't they?
Yeah, Bases 50 is basically the Revolution Radio Christine Hart non-envisioned shows.
Thanks, Seth. Thanks, Mirjam. Thanks, Miles.
Thanks, Justine. Looking forward to meet you one live.
Oh yes, me too. Take care, guys. Bye.
Thanks for your work.
And thanks for listening. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.